Hello and welcome to Woo Wednesdays. I'm excited to be here with a special guest and another special guest who is one of our regular viewers. And I am Susan Morrow Johnson, aka MoJo Medium. I am a speaker, author, trainer, and psychic medium. Yeah, that's right. I'm also turning out to be a channel for a bit of energy calling it themselves or itself Mother Spirit. So we may have some of that coming up. We don't know when that's going to come up. But today I have a special guest host. What do you call it? Special guest co-host. That's what I'm trying to say. And I always like to start with when I have a host, I like to start with an interview. So, Jennifer, welcome, Jennifer Regular. Love seeing you here. Thank you for being
Thank you.
here. I am just delighted that you're here. So, I was on Jennifer's podcast, which is called Awaken and Ascend, and she has all kinds of very interesting woo people on there, and I got to be one of them. Thank you very much. And then was it you? And okay, I'm gonna toot my own horn a little bit. Didn't you send me one that a message that said you were the most popular episode this month or something? Was that you?
That wasn't me.
That
No,
wasn't you.
no, but
Okay.
it was still a great interview nonetheless.
Okay.
Great conversation about
All
aligning
right.
with the divine.
Yeah. I don't know who it was because I've been on a lot of podcasts, but one of them was that. So, okay, enough tooting. I'm going to talk to you now. So, Jennifer, I want you to introduce yourself rather than have me introduce you. And yeah, I mean, you wrote a lovely bio, and I'll put that in the notes under the YouTube deal and in the podcast part. But why don't you tell us who you are and what you do and what you're all about?
Yeah, well, I see you have our book there, The Ultimate Guide to Leaving Your Legacy. So, yeah, that's a
How we
place
met,
where we're both
right?
not only co-hosts, but co-authors in that
Yes,
book
that's
that
right.
was led by Camille Miller. And yeah, and what I was talking about there was about leading with passion,
Wait, Jennifer,
lighting the
where are
path.
you? I'm not finding you.
Right,
I just
it's right there under
Oh,
Renee
I see. I
McDonald.
see.
Yeah,
I
so
see. Yeah.
fourth line,
Yeah. Of
second. Yeah,
course, I
there you
know
go.
what
You
my
got
name
it.
is because I've looked
You
at it
got
before.
it. I had to take off my glasses to actually see that.
Yeah. That's Jennifer. Yeah. So we're both
Yeah,
in this
I'll
book,
just keep
The
this off.
Ultimate Guide to
Yeah,
Leaving Your Legacy, Amazon bestseller in several, number one bestseller in several categories. So run out and grab it
yes,
as quick as you can. The Ultimate Guide to
absolutely.
Your Legacy
Absolutely.
by
There's so many amazing stories in there. We're just two
Full
of
Story.
22. So, yeah,
Yeah.
lots to
Yeah.
read in that one.
What's your chapter? What number is your chapter?
Yeah, my chapter's number 5, which is interesting because 5 kind of followed me throughout my whole life. Everything
Mm.
is aligned when I see 5.
Got it.
So
That's
no
like your
surprise that
personal
I ended
angel
up in
number.
chapter 5.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
I'm 15. I'm kind of smack in the middle of the book, and
Oh, interesting.
I
Yeah,
yeah, and that number doesn't mean anything to me except in numerology it would be a 6, which is a home
a
number.
6.
That's not so bad.
Yeah,
So,
6 is my life path number. Yeah, well, like harmonizer is number 6. So
okay. Oh well,
there's part
that's
of
good.
that.
That's good.
Yeah,
Okay, so I
yeah.
know in the Enneagram I'm a 7, but it's been so
Oh,
long since I did that that I don't remember
hmm.
much about it. But it is the mystic. I know that. So
Oh, yeah, yeah.
kind of cool.
Well, that goes
All right,
without
so
saying.
please continue with the book and who you are and so forth.
Yeah, well, the reason why I brought it up is because in my chapter, I spoke about leading with passion and lighting the path to profound impact and collective transformation, which sounds like a lot of words, but really sums up everything that I'm about. And the way I see passion, when you break up the word, it's pass I on. That
Oh yeah.
I, yeah, that I is your soul's expression of what you're here to pass on in this lifetime. And as the
Love
founder
that.
of Lighting the Path, that aims to help change makers and visionaries in particular have profound impact. And we do that by really aligning and activating that I to pass on. So become known as the soul illuminator. And what I'm all about is not so much about individual missions anymore. It's really about our collective protocol right now, coming together, gathering forces, gathering that energy, building it up for that collective transformation that's taking place, even more pronounced these days.
I agree with that. My whole philosophy for years now has been about us, so many of us being illuminators and helpers, teachers, guides. We've come forth in this time to help raise humanity to the next paradigm, the next level of a different type of more peaceful, prosperous, unified kind of energy. And there are more and more teachers, what's the word? Yeah, evolving, coming through all the
Mm-hmm.
time. I mean, so
Mm-hmm.
like Candy, for example, who's one of our viewers here today, she's coming along and she's the same age I am. And she's just now getting to where she's like, oh, I need to be doing something with my intuition and with my spiritual talents. And so we're working on getting her into doing that. And I think she's one of the teachers as well. So,
Yeah.
so like you were saying about a collective, and I think that that's part of the new paradigm as well, is to for all of us to feel like one, to be as one, to be unified. And I think that it's not easy getting there. It's been kind of a rough path for a few years, but that is what I believe is on the other side of this. So very
Yeah,
grateful
being
that you.
united in passion, purpose, and
Mhm,
vision for
mhm.
sure. Absolutely. And it's interesting when you talk about guides, you're talking about teachers. I work mostly with leaders, and having that inner transformation for the outer impact. And it's interesting when you look at the etymology of the word leader, which is legere, which means to guide and bring forth. Right?
Yes,
So we're really
yes,
honing those skills to be able to guide and bring forth to create other leaders and teachers, and again, come together and support each
right.
other and all of humanity, which is for me the rising of the Gaia Nation.
Yes, the Gaia Nation.
The Gaia Nation.
That's interesting you would say that. So I personally had a new guide sort of emerge in the last year. Um, and so, we all have a lot of guides. And my sort of spokes angel, if you want to call it that, was Claire. And she was sort of supplanted by this other entity. And so I had asked her, like, what about Claire? Is it like you are an up and coming and she's like on to higher things? And she was like, no, 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 it's the other way around. And I was like, oh, okay. I mean, there's not really a hierarchy, but it's just like for what I need right now, they just switched out. And I mean, Claire's
Yeah.
still in my group, but so now I'm talking to this one, and her name is Gaia. I asked her, and I
Ah,
was like, who is your name? And the first thing that came up was Gaia. And then, as I mentioned just briefly in my own introduction about that I'm starting to channel Mother Spirit,
yeah.
Gaia was one of those as well, because it's about mother energy, and you don't have to be a mother.
Mhm.
But I believe that the paradigm of the more uh, energetic divine feminine and the
Mhm.
more obvious divine feminine that's coming, and it's coming out and coming out, that is mother energy. This is what they're telling me, is that it's mother energy. We are all mothers, and we're here to help one another, lift one another up, and become a family. So it makes a lot
The
of sense.
life
I love that.
givers, the nurturers. Yeah.
Yes,
Being able to
exactly. Yeah, and you don't have
embrace
to
and
be a
ground
mother. You
us.
don't have to have children or pets or
It's Mother
anything.
Earth.
You,
Yeah, that's
and
Gaia.
so I love that
Mm-hmm.
you say Gaia energy. I just love that.
Mm,
It just fits
mhm.
so well with what's going on with me right now, and makes me
Beautiful.
realize that it's more global, and that
Yeah.
it's all the same thing, which is what I've always said. It's
Mm,
all the same thing. So, all right, please continue about you said you work with leaders, and that means teach and guide, right?
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that you did the etymology on it, because I'm a big word nerd. So
Mm-hmm.
tell us about where you came from. How did you come into doing this work?
Yeah, absolutely. There's many ways that I came into this work. Well, I'd say like one way, and then I just kept getting redirected back into it, right? Because a healer goes through many initiations, as we know, because you can only take people as far as you come. And so I've had a lot of trials and tribulations along the way. And really, what it comes down to over and over again is shifting from career calling, shifting from career to calling. And I was working in social services for over 20 years, working with different populations, people who had a lot of gifts to share, had a lot of ways that they needed to be expressed, but became very dispirited by the world around them, by institutions, by the majority, right? The voices of authority that we adhere to and try to conform to, which when we conform, we perform, we're not being our true selves, right? We're not being authentic. We're not being aligned with what we came here to do and who we came here to be. We're just trying to fit in and belong, which I did too. I admit that's part of my journey too. And then I realized I wasn't born to fit in. I was born to stand out. And that was actually a
Mm,
good thing. And I started embracing that. And that whole mind shift set the way I wanted to free my spirit to direct the life that I was meant to live, because my authority was more spirit, my guides, my angels. They're my authority. They're my people that tell me, what's
yeah.
right, what's not in my best interest.
Hmm.
And so that opened me up, more into the spiritual world. Well, really, that journey started when I was 6, and I had the first family death. I had many, many different losses. And that too gets you down to what's really important, to making time for what's most aligned, and really hearing at all those funerals, what's the one thing or more that really impacted, what was that person's spirit that they left behind? What was that energy that they radiated
That they
into different
shared. Yeah.
relationships, teachings, leadership, like what kind of impact, influence they had. And that's that I, right, that we truly pass on. Anyway, going back to the career to calling, I just found that the way I was wanting to serve and help people just wasn't working out in the systems that I was in. It was very constricting and restricting. And I saw what was happening to my coworkers. It just depletes you. And that's also what happened in my
Right.
marriage when I gave that a try. It just depleted me. It wasn't aligned with what I truly valued.
It
It
wasn't,
really
it wasn't
I
supporting
wanted.
you and giving you what you needed.
No,
You were
exactly. And yet it
giving,
was,
wait,
because it
like
showed
so
me what
many
wasn't
people
in
do.
alignment. Yeah.
Right. Well, oh, then that's always valuable. But what a lot of us women do is we give, 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 and
Yeah.
we accept getting nothing back,
Yeah.
and that
Right.
is very detrimental.
Very good
Well, and
point.
it's not a conscious choice. We just go around and go, oh, I always do everything,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
what? Yeah, of course I help everybody. That's what I do. Yeah, we help people. I love to help people. Yeah, you do. Who helps you, babe? You know,
Yeah.
I'm,
That's
I'm
just it.
serious. If
Yeah.
I
And
may,
that's what I
yeah.
heard one of my coworkers say. It's like we had a lot in the last place that I worked at in the government. There was a lot of ergonomics that they would do. They had different benefits that were available to us. And then I overheard one of my coworkers saying one day too, the self-care just doesn't cut it. I'm like, you're right. It doesn't, because it's a self-perpetuating cycle of not doing enough, not being enough, not
Right.
sleeping enough, not eating right, not getting enough exercise. It all brings us into our
Well, and
deficiency needs, what we need more of, or do things in the right way rather than what actually feeds our soul and gets us further up on the ascension cycle into self-actualization.
right,
So that
right.
was one of the defining moments. The other one was whenever I took on a role, first of all, when I take on a role, it was more how I wanted to connect soul to soul, not through that role, but I used the roles to be able to express my soul's purpose in that way through my calling. So even though I was still in the career, my calling came through the role that I was given at that time. And all of those things, I call them initiations, the rites of passage, the way that
Yeah.
kind of trains us to really step
Mm-hmm.
into and embody
Who we
ourselves in
are
a
and
bigger
what
way.
next level. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're right. Exactly. Exactly. And so for me, I had to step out of that those career field completely and offer into the field of possibilities, right? And the new realm of being out in the world and offering my work. So I got into the healing arts, and then I started focusing in the last few years more in the empowerment piece, because part of that healing wasn't, I was finding a lot of people just come to be healed, to get the answers, to know what to do next. And I was more about empowering them to facilitate that healing, to empower them to really embrace their calling and what they're meant to do, whether they're a parent and they're recognizing how much influence and impact they have on their families, on their children, whether they
Mm-hmm.
want to stay in the career and just shift that mindset into how is this serving my soul's purpose, right? Instead of, oh,
Mm-hmm.
here I go again to work 9 to 5, same old routine. It doesn't have to be that way. Or there's the entrepreneurs and those that feel like they can't fit in and they need to go stand out on their own and create that for themselves and go from like a 40-hour work week to a 90-hour work week. That's what we do because we have so much to give. It's again channeling what it is that we're meant to be offering through who we are. first
Yeah.
and foremost. It's the being that prompts the doing that gives you the having. So I took the long route through that, and this is where I am today,
Wow.
lighting the path. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, that's very cool. I had a couple of things that I wanted to come back to. You
Okay.
mentioned the first time you were aware of something was when you were 6 and someone
Right.
passed away.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
and then you said you had a lot of deaths in your family and so forth after that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Could could you, if you're willing, and I'm not going to put you on the spot, could you
Yeah,
share
sure.
with us what that 6-year-old experience was?
Yeah, absolutely. And there was someone who, Mia Dosette, who had interviewed me for that, for her book, Strong, Women Who Triumph Through Trauma. And when I
Oh,
was 6,
okay.
so I was born
Andy
much
sounds
later in
like you.
life. Let me just give you that preface because I'm about to say it was my nephew and like 6 year
Okay.
old, and you have a nephew. Yeah. Yeah. Because I was born much later in life. My mom thought she was going through menopause with me, and turns out she was having me
It's pregnant.
instead, in her 40s. And
Yeah.
here it's not, these days it's pretty normal, but back in the early 70s, it was not. And so when I was 6, yeah, that was my nephew that had passed. He was 4 months old, and the first one for Christmas time. So December, there's 3 family deaths
Mm,
that have occurred in December, which is, just for the viewers, which is interesting, is that they're 4 days apart each one, but years
mm,
apart, right? And so that was my
right.
nephew and my mother and my sister at different
We have
times
a
in
cluster of deaths in
December.
late April.
Oh,
Yeah, we
yeah.
have.
Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. And there's a cluster of births in November for us.
yeah, we have
Anyway,
those too. So
yeah, yeah, right. And I'm sure a lot of viewers are saying, yeah, yeah, us too, because I
it's
remember the year that my
interesting the way
mom
that
died,
works.
even in 2010, that
Mm.
there were over 30 people I knew that whose mothers had passed that year. Now,
That year, that was the
coincidence,
year.
right? There was a real call from the other side for that maternal energy at that
Right,
point,
right.
right? Really
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah,
So,
that is.
just in
Yeah,
a little aside there, due to the
that,
nature of the show, you're going to hear those things.
yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah,
That's what we're here for. We talk about all the good.
yeah, that's
So
right.
when you
So
were
when
6
I
and
was
that
6,
happened, what
yeah.
did something happen to you or a
Yeah,
realization?
well, what happened actually was that my mother explained my nephew's death as he's your guardian angel now. Now, years later, learning about angels, that's not actually true. He wasn't my guardian angel. But at 6 years old, I believe that to be true. I'm like, oh,
And that is a good
okay.
way to help a 6-year-old with that.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think she did the right thing.
And I'm glad she did, because that's what opened me up to the angelic realm. Because then I started talking to this guardian angel, and other angels came in. And then there were my actual
Wow.
guardian angels. And then I learned, years later about integrated energy therapy, which works with the angelics, healing with the angels, and bringing that healing angel energy in to detox ourselves emotionally. So getting the issues out of our tissues, we're good, because it
Issues out of
releases
our
the
tissues.
imprints from cellular imprints, right? Everything we take on gets imprinted on our cellular memory. So we're
Hmm.
releasing that, but it's not like get rid of that, right? It's integrated that.
Yes.
And that's what's happening
Integration
today.
is
We're
the
creating an
healing part.
integrated higher consciousness model of living. But yeah, that's
Hmm.
what opened me up to, the gifts and the guides and the angels at that stage. And
Wow.
then it progressed from there, like you said, with
Love
new
that.
guides coming in for you, there's also
Yes.
teachers that keep showing up in our lives, right? So
Yes.
different countries that I, studied in the Vedic arts and Buddhism and Hare Krishna's even, and
Wow.
Agnihotra, like a whole bunch of different practices. I did shamanic training for several years, and Reiki drumming, and just all those modalities come in, all those different ways that we can connect even more to develop our abilities and gifts even more, and then be able to share that with
Right.
others. So,
Right.
yeah, that took me along that route. And yeah, there was a lot of loss. Like by the time I was 17, there were 21 deaths in my, no, sorry, by the time I was 21, there were 17 deaths of
Wow.
family and
That's a
friends. And
lot.
then, 50 now, there's been hundreds more. But
Oh
not
yeah.
just deaths, like we experienced loss in so many other ways too. I went through the bankruptcy, loss of marriage, and my home, and
Right.
all of those, the material
Right.
kind of things that happened too. And it just shows you the impermanence of life and how important and precious it all is. But it's also not so limited to those people, places, and things, right?
Right, right.
There's so much more beyond what we can actually see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, there always is. It is very unlimited. But you were talking about the material issues and the losses of all kinds of losses and traumas that we suffer through. And we also have, let's not forget, we have many moments of joy and gratitude and enjoyment and laughter and fun and love and so forth. So
Hmm.
there,
All of
there
the good
there's
things.
all of that. So yeah, we don't want to
Yeah.
sound like everything is horrible, because not
No,
all of it is. But there was something you said there that, oh, I wanted to ask you, did I hear you say Reiki drumming, or were you saying Reiki comma drumming?
I did both. Yeah. Reiki and Reiki drumming.
What is Reiki drumming?
Reiki drumming is where after level 2, you get attuned. Well, you specifically get trained and certified in Reiki drumming itself as well. And it's
Oh,
where
I've
you
never
and
heard
your
of it.
drum, okay. It's where you and your drum are attuned to that Reiki energy, that
Hmm.
level. And then, you call in for a Reiki treatment, just to give you a sense of it. You call in the 4 directions, and there's smudging. You call in the 4 directions, and then you drum over the person providing that treatment. So you have the resonance of the drum coming through. And in a Reiki drum treatment, 10 minutes of that is like equivalent to an hour of regular Reiki.
Wow. I'll bet that feels so good. That is
Coming across the
amazing.
sound waves, absolutely.
Yes.
It feels
Yes.
amazing.
Wow, I just had never heard of it. It's so cool. And I've known a lot of
Yeah,
Reiki practitioners, and it's funny, nobody's ever said that, or I just haven't
yeah.
heard
I wonder if it's a
it.
Canadian thing.
It could be.
I'm
It could
not
be.
sure. Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know.
I don't
Yeah.
know. So I also, when you were saying about um, temporary, basically, that things are temporary. I used to tell my children that all the time about bad things, like, oh, so and so and I are having a fight, and say everything's temporary, give it time, you know, or I mean, from a zit to uh,
Right.
menstruation, as you mentioned about your mom going through menopause. Yeah, even
That's right.
menstruation is
Yeah.
temporary. Yeah,
Yeah.
it will come to an end someday, as much as we hate it when we're young, you know. Okay, so there was something else I wanted to ask you about. Oh, you mentioned about self-care and how your
Mhm.
coworker said this self-care thing is BS. And I
Mhm.
think that the self-care that I talk about, and I call it MoJo self-care, it
Mhm.
is not only the bubble baths and the wine on the porch and the spa day. It is building your life in a way that supports you so that you don't have an emergency need for the wine on the
Mhm.
porch, right? Where
Ah,
you
awesome.
don't go
Yeah.
running into the night, or you come in from work and go, oh, Calgon, take me away. You remember those commercials?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so it is about creating a life that supports you so that that doesn't happen. And that means not only um, receiving from others that what you need, not just giving and taking care of everybody else. What, I don't have any choice. Yes, you do. Actively receiving and or asking for help. And now
Hmm.
a lot of us, like you've been married and divorced, and a lot of us have had the experience of asking for help and being turned down, and that sucks. But you know what? If your husband doesn't do that, somebody else will. And I don't mean a man. I don't mean stepping out. I mean, ask your friend, ask your neighbor, ask the lady at the store. Could you zip up my dress for me, please? you
Hmm.
know, whatever that is, when you think about what do I need on a regular basis, and you go about creating the relationships and the support system that will help you to do that, then that's real self-care. That's really taking care of yourself. When you say, no, I can't come and do another, whatever. I can't create this for you right now because I've got to rest, or because I don't want to, or because it doesn't align with what I need right now,
Hmm.
recognizing what you really need. And so I just wanted to mention that about self-care because of what, your friend saying that. And I think that we've kind of been sold a bill of goods on the self-care thing, thinking it's a basket of bath special things, or it's a
Hmm.
it's a dinner out, or yes, it can be those things, but that's not all it is. There's a whole lot more to it. And if you really want to take care of yourself, it's also what you mentioned about getting enough rest and exercise and so forth, staying healthy, and then all of that goes together. And the
Yeah.
mental
Yeah,
health,
it's
spiritual
recognizing
health.
what's serving the deficiency needs, but also recognizing your growth needs, right?
Ooh,
So
good point.
yes, that love and belonging is important. The self-esteem is important too. The physiological needs are important too. And then going beyond that into your growth zone, what helps you self-actualize? So a great reference is Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right?
I
The
was just
first
thinking about
several
that.
layers at the bottom are based on deficiency needs. Then you
Mhm.
get into the growth needs. And it's like you mentioned earlier, Mojo, about joy and wonder, doing the things that you love,
Yeah.
taking that time, actually resting. There's so much value in just even taking a rest, but being connected to, I'm looking outside my window at the forest of trees out here, which is absolutely gorgeous and one of my go-to places for sure. But being able to connect with beauty and nature and awe and wonder and things that are new and discovering, and also engaging in the things that you already know that are familiar, that you love, and that really feeds your soul.
Yeah.
Those things
Yeah,
are really important too. So for
definitely.
me, I often talk about soul care.
Yeah, I love that. Soul
Yeah.
care. I love, yeah, that's perfect. And that's what I mentioned about your spiritual health. Those are things that need to
Yes,
be done as well.
absolutely.
And I tell you what, it was interesting because I thought about Maslow's hierarchy before you mentioned that. And I was thinking, oh yeah, it's high. But here's the thing about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. That was
Mm,
maybe the 70s or maybe or earlier than that. So for those who are not familiar, Maslow was a philosopher, psychologist, I think, and he laid out a pyramid that was his hierarchy of needs. And so you have to have your physical needs met, so food, clothing, shelter. And then there's the next level is relationships or human contact or something, satisfying work and so forth. And then, like you said, you get up to the growth ones. So they're like recognizing your spiritual needs and getting towards self-actualization. So there's 7 levels. The thing is that since then, that has been sort of, I hate to say debunked, that doesn't really make sense, but it has been eh, taken apart to mean that you can actually have self actualization without those other layers. It's not
mm,
easy, but you could, you know, think about people who have been in prisons, um, uh, people who were in concentration camps in World War II, which I hate to refer to, and I'm not saying that lightly at all, but people who have been through terrible, terrible things and have attained enlightenment or self-actualization or um, the kind of thing that we all seek,
mm.
and yet they didn't really have those physical and emotional needs met
Right.
at all. And so I just
Mm.
want to point that
They're
out
not
because I think,
prerequisites. Yeah, that's a
yes, that
really
it's
good thing to point
significant
out. Yeah.
because if you're
Mm.
going, well, but I really have, I'm struggling to pay the bills. I'm not ready to work on, myself. Yeah, you are. You can do it at any stage of your life, in any sort of circumstance, you can do that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I love that very much. Okay. So, Jennifer, do you have any, like, how can people reach you? Did you want to share something with folks here today? They could get a taste of you somehow.
Yeah. Well, you know what? One, I guess, final thing to say about the self care piece is
Yes.
remembering that we are spiritual beings having this human experience. So, doesn't
Right.
it make sense to focus on spiritual wellness first and foremost, right? To take care of our
Ah,
being in
yes.
that way. And then what I'm talking about is freeing your spirit to direct the life that you're meant to live. So, taking care of your spirit and then using it and then allowing that to unfold your soul's path for you. Which
That is
leads me to my
really, really
website,
important. Okay.
lightingthepath.ca.
Lightingthepath.ca, which is
lightingthepath.ca.
for Canada,
Yeah,
for those of us who are Americans
that's
and
right. So
don't
it's
know anything.
ca, not com. That's right. But
Yeah.
it is
Okay.
worldwide and yeah, people all over the world. So that's a place where you'll find my Inspired Living blog. You'll see the connections there for LinkedIn, Instagram, and my YouTube channel. And lots of great speakers, including MoJo on there. So I recommend that too. Yeah, and then
Okay.
you
So
can
your
just learn
blog
more
is there
about
and
through
your links
that.
are there. And what is there also a place on lightingthepath.ca that is that tells how people can work with you?
Yeah, you'll find that on the website too. Yeah, it's probably the one-stop shop for everything.
Good, good, good. Okay.
Yeah.
You know, our websites are not what they used to be. Like 20 years ago, your website was sort of your everything. So everybody
Hmm.
did everything. And nowadays
Hmm.
it's a little bit more like, oh, here's just a link to a landing page, and that's all you need,
Oh, yeah.
or here's
Yeah.
a page that just has all the links that you need. And our websites are not as important, but I'm kind of proud of mine. And I think, everybody should go and look at lightingpath.ca. We should go look at that and just check it out and see
Yeah.
all your beautiful work there.
Hmm.
And go to mojomedium.com and do the same thing. And actually, Candy has an Etsy shop, but she may not be ready yet. Is that
Yeah.
right? No, she's not ready to share that yet. Okay, speaking of
Huh.
Candy, I want to ask you to unmute, Candy, and ask you to contribute to the conversation about all of this. I'm sure you have some thoughts and feelings. Maybe you have a question for Jennifer or for me. What's on your mind?
I want to thank you, Jennifer, for being on today.
Oh, thank you, Candy.
It was great. You're a beautiful soul. I can tell. You just come through,
Mm.
even though you're so far away. You come through like a beautiful soul. It's nice to talk to different people about their gifts and talents. It helps me to understand what I'm feeling, what I'm seeing, and what I'm experiencing in my life.
Yeah.
That most of what I'm doing and feeling and seeing is normal.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's normal
So
for a lot of us. A lot
yeah,
of people don't, may not ever get to that. But when you start feeling it and acknowledging it and realizing that it's normal for you, then you kind of come home, you know?
yeah. I love the born to fit in and born to
Mm.
stand out
Where to
because I
stand
was
out.
not born to fit in. If I was,
Mm-hmm.
I was pushed out. But
Yeah. Yeah.
just thank you for everything.
Oh, you're so welcome. And you know what? There's a blog on my Inspired Living blog on the website there about being a black sheep and embracing that, embracing the black sheep. Yeah.
I'll check it
Yeah.
out.
The
Yeah.
last a few years ago, I discovered, accepted, realized that I have ADHD. And so uh, that in itself has been a huge journey. And finding out that just the way that I am um, is not just like everybody else. And you know what you were saying about that this is normal. So my stuff is normal for me.
Mm.
In with ADHD, that's the way that I am, right?
Mm.
It's a similar thing when you start to learn your spiritual gifts and your more energetic talents and so forth, and you realize that, okay, well, I'm not like everybody. I'm not like everybody. I'm like some people, but this is
Mm-hmm.
normal for me. And I think that that's just really important to recognize, and to know that you are the way you're supposed to be, and that you're
Mm.
good and you're acceptable as you are, you know? And if somebody doesn't get that, then that's their problem,
I
right?
find people with ADHD are also very multi-passionate.
We are. That is true.
Yeah.
That is
Mm.
true. Yeah, absolutely. Many, many, many interests, and not
Yeah.
enough time or brain power or concentration to pursue them
Embrace
all.
them all. That's
Yeah,
why
so it
it's so
can.
important to have that eye, right? What is that potency that you
Yeah.
offer you're here to
Yes.
pass on?
Well, and
Yeah.
I talk about this a lot when I was in my early 30s, and I'm sorry, I'm just like right in the. Let me move back a little bit. That's a little bit better, because I'm just like getting this glare on my face. I was starting to wonder. I had a job that I loved and I was good at, and I was making good money, but I just had what I've come to call the tug of fate. I was questioning, are these the talents that I'm supposed to share in service? Are these the talents that I'm
Yes.
meant to use in service to
Right.
others, for money or
Mm-hmm.
not, which is what I always help people with. um,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
is this it? Is this the right place for me? And I was really feeling that, not quite. It's starting to get to where you need to be pursuing something else. And so that was yeah, after a few years of that, then ding, I always call it like that. The universe kicked me out, ding. And and I went on to start my first business, and that was awesome.
Uh-huh.
And then it was like, oh, okay, so I'm supposed to be an entrepreneur. Okay, I got this. And then ding, that business had to close. And then it really became obvious to me the messages that come through everything and every way possible. And if you're paying attention and you're tuned in, you will get it perfect. You won't deviate much from your path. Now, any deviations from your path are often necessary in order to know your path, and they are important things to learn and so forth. And and so that's acceptable. But all of the things that bring you to where you are. What was this? I channeled something yesterday that I thought was just so powerful. I think I wrote it down.
Oh, good.
It was, yes, I did write it down because it was in that class yesterday. I taught an intuition for beginners class, and I wrote down when we did a little exercise. I wrote down, of course, and now I can't find it, but I think I can remember. I asked the question, why do I feel like I'm late, like I'm behind? And the answer was, you could not have been and done this here now until this here now. You are not late. That is only your doubt that makes you feel like you're late. I'm 61 years old and I'm still having new talents exposed to me, shown to me like, oh, okay, I got to do this too. Okay, I can do that. Great. Okay, just help me figure this out. And so it was very reassuring for them to come through with that answer. You could not have been and done this here now until this here now. And we all know that time and space are irrelevant, that they don't really exist. They're sort of constructs of us trying to be organized. And so I found that just fascinating that this here now was more of a symbol than an actual where you are right this minute in this time and space, more of a symbol of who you are, I guess, would be a way to describe that. Yeah. Kind of cool stuff.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah, very cool. Well, I tell you what, if Candy, if you had anything else you wanted to talk about or ask, we can definitely do that. And
I'm good. Just
good.
say thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, MoJo.
Thank you for being here
right now, right? You're the big sponge. You're just absorbing and absorbing everything.
That's right.
Yeah. So I want to do something that I used to do when I had the Mighty MoJo Club, and every month we would do angel card readings, and it was so much fun to do, and everybody loved it. And so I've just started doing this on Woo Wednesdays, and so I'm going to start with reading from my own deck of Good News Only fortune telling cards, and these are cards that I was inspired to create because years ago when I would say I'm a psychic medium, people would say, oh no, what bad thing do I need to worry about? What do I need to get prepared for? What terrible thing is happening? And I was just like, no, don't do that. And so our brains are always looking for danger to keep us safe, because the primary drive of every living organism is to survive long enough to reproduce and pass on your DNA. So, I mean, it's not a conscious thing. It's just, that's what we do. And so we're already looking out for danger all the time. And that's why negative thinking is hard to overcome. So when you practice and you strengthen that look for the good muscle, then it becomes easier and easier to look for the good and to find it. So that's what these cards are about. I'm going to pull one for you today. Let's see what we've got. Beauty. Ooh. Now, if you had your own deck of these at home and you pulled this card, you could say, I wonder how that's going to show up for me. But when I do it for you, I'm going to give you a little bit more specific. So essentially, this is giving you something to look forward to in the next few days to a week, whenever you might see this. You could see this past, present, future. You could see this in the replay in 5 years. Doesn't matter. It's for you when you see it. Okay. So you've got the beauty card. And the first thing that pops up is Madonna's song Vogue. where she says, beauty's where you find it. And I think that's really interesting because we're just talking about looking for the good. So what I'm getting with this is in the next few days to a week, you will see something that is, it doesn't have to be something you see even, but you will find beauty in something that is unexpected. That's a bit of a surprise that maybe you never noticed before. Like you've driven past this umpteen times every day for years, and all of a sudden you notice that the street sign, has glitter on it or something, and you go, oh, that's beautiful. And so take a moment to enjoy that beauty when it comes up, and look for it in unexpected places. And it's very cool that's, I don't know, I just think that's a cool one. I didn't expect any of that, so that's good. Okay, now we're going to do my 3x3 reading, which I just love to do. And so I'm using the Doreen Virtue's Magical Mermaids and Dolphins, my favorite deck. I've worn out one deck.
Fun. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, I know. I love mermaids and dolphins. So I wore out a deck, and a nice, lovely client sent me a new one. And they're a little stiff.
Wow.
So they're a little stiff. They don't shuffle that well. Oh, I'm not supposed to shuffle them yet. I'm sorry. Okay, so we're going to do 3x3. So it's three deep breaths. I'll shuffle 3 times and draw 3 cards. And so let me walk you through this and explain how this works. Okay. So we're going to take 3 deep breaths. This is what I call the micro meditation. It's great for pressing the reset button in any situation. It's also good to use to start your meditation, to start to go to sleep at night, to wake up in the morning. Anything that you want to apply this to, my gift to you. Okay, 3 deep breaths, and we concentrate during the breathing on this thought. I call on my angels and guides, as well as all those who have my best interests at heart. I'll repeat that once. I call on my angels and guides, as well as all those who have my best interests at heart. Okay, so let's do the 3 breaths, okay? Okay, I'm going to go ahead. I don't know why Candy and I breathe faster than most people. Okay, now I'm going to shuffle the deck 3 times, and I want you to imbue the deck with your question. So whatever your question or concern is, your main thing right now, top of mind, that you're most concerned about, or if you have too many to choose just one, or you can't think of anything, then ask the default question, what do I need to know right now? Okay, so think on that, concentrate on it, and we're going to deal the cards. Shuffle. Like I said, these are kind of stiff. They don't always shuffle well. Okay, now then I'm going to cut the deck, and I'm going to deal out 3 cards. I want you to think of whether you want 1, 2, or 3. Don't overthink it. Just choose one, whichever one you want, 1, 2, or 3. And I will do the same. Okay. And now then, I'm going to read each of the cards. And of course, you've chosen yours. But I want to point out the group effect, which is that anytime you are witness to somebody else's reading, there is very likely to be a message in it for you. So don't say, oh, I didn't choose that card, so that's not for me. That's too bad because I really liked it and it seemed like it applied to me. It is for you. Okay, just relax. It's okay. You can have it if you want it. Okay. So if you chose card number 1, this is your card. Accept heaven's help. You've prayed for help, so get out of the way and let heaven help you. I have to say that, like I said, I've used these cards for over 20 years. That thing of get out of your own way, I've always said I struggled with that, about what does that mean to get out of your own way and let heaven help you. Also, this comes back to what we were saying about self-care and letting yourself receive and ask for heaven's help or ask for other people's help. So I just wanted to say that. Okay, accept heaven's help. Okay, so actually, the help that you've been thinking, oh, I need help with this, it's actually there. And you're just not seeing it. You will probably have to ask for it, but you will get a yes. Okay. So, and may have something to do with your business if you're a business owner. Or if not, then it has to do with a project that you've been working on. And you need to know next step and you need help with that. So it's there for you. You do need to ask, and that's how you get out of your own way and accept the help. Okay. If you chose card number 2, this is your card, alchemy. Ooh, you have the Midas touch right now, and every project you begin turns to go. Oh, I love that. Okay. So this has less to do with projects or even with your business, but more to do with sort of the results of the work you've done. In this instance, it's more about the result of the work you have done and sort of enjoying the fruits of your labors, if that makes sense. So when it says every project you begin turns to gold, I would say every project you've done turns to gold or turns out gold. Okay. So that's a good one. That's a fun one. Okay. If you chose card number 3, this is your card. Synchronicity. Your prayers and questions are being answered by synchronistic events. Now, synchronicity is when 2 or more things happen in close proximity to one another. So it's synchronicity means happening at the same time. From the Greek, this term was coined by Carl Jung, a 20th century psychologist and philosopher. Let's just throw that out there. So it means, like, let's say that I tell you about frogs today, and then later on you walk out the front door and oh, there's a frog on your front step. And then you get in the car and you hear a commercial on the radio about frogs and you're like, what is with the frogs today? That's synchronicity. And you should always ask, what is the message? Okay, I've noticed the 3 things. What's the message? Sometimes it's very clear, like if it's about frogs and you've been wanting to go to frog school, I don't know. It may be really obvious, but more often it's a little bit tougher. So you want to consider, what's the message? See what comes in. And also, a lot of times, synchronicity is just about telling you that you're on the right track. You're getting warmer. Keep going the way you're going. Okay. So I'm just letting you know a little bit about synchronicity. Okay. So in this case for you, oh gosh. Okay. What I'm getting on this is that you are having synchronicity in even 3s. That's like 3 things here, and then next week 3 more things here, and then week after that 3. And this is going on. So they're all giving you the same message. So start asking for that message. What is that message? I'm getting all the synchronicity. Damn it, it's driving me crazy. So keep asking what the message is. And if you need help with that, I just thought, think about this. I can help you figure out what that message is too. So I didn't even think, I wasn't planning to pitch myself, but there you go. Shameless plug. Okay. We are about at the end of our program today. I want to thank everybody for being here. Thank you so much, Jennifer. You are such a dear and such a bright light in this world. Candy, you are too. Believe it or not, you're a very bright light, and I'm excited to see more of you shine. So until next week, I want to remind you that you can get a brand new channeled reading with me. I call it the Divine Q&A, and you can get that for just $111. And right now, I've got that and some other things on sale for 50% off with the coupon code XMAS50. So it's Xmas50 to get 50% off at checkout. And I have to say, the Divine Q&A is not on the website yet. I need to do that. So you have to get in touch with me if you want to do that. My email is mojomedium@gmail. Couldn't be easier. And I thank you all again for this. I hope you have a wonderful day. I need to come up with a good sign off, like have a spiritual day, or be a good spirit having a human experience, or I don't know. let's think about that. Let's play with it. Okay, thanks very much. See you soon. Bye-bye.